Welcome to Lens and Legacy, where we embark on a captivating journey into the intricate tapestry of history's most legendary figures. Vivekananda once referred to Kerala as a lunatic asylum. Kerala now prides itself in its caste violence-free society, but was once home to India's most regressive caste system. If lower castes touching upper castes was pollution in India, Kerala took it a notch higher. The act of lower castes approaching the upper castes itself was pollution. Hence the name lunatic asylum. Then what changed? While India was fighting for freedom, Kerala was undergoing a socio-political reformation. Kerala's freedom movement was intertwined with caste and class politics, with social reformers and politicians going hand by hand. Sri Narayana Guru, Vagbhadananthan, Chattampi Swamikal, and Ayyankali were some of the popular reformers, who tried to ensure that political rights are distributed to everyone. They organized the lower castes and provided them with education. They fought for basic human rights and prepared the masses for the freedom struggle. It was the efforts of these luminaries that shaped Kerala to its present. Now these are people that everyone knows of. These are the celebrated names. But there are some people who challenged the existing social structures but find no mention in any history books. So much so that we don't even know if it's a legend or an actual person. That is Nangeli. Keralites are familiar with the story of Nangeli. Nangeli was an Ejhava woman who lived with her husband Chirukandan in Cherthala of Travancore. Travancore was infamous for the various taxes it forced upon its marginalized population. From taxes on growing a mustache to wearing jewelry, every aspect of life was taxed. And a tax named mulakaram was levied on women's breasts. Nangeli decided to deny the pravatiyar, the village officer responsible to collect taxes, the money sought from her. The story spread around, and the tax officer came to her house to collect tax. Nangeli went inside her house and returned with a bloodied chest. She had chopped off her breasts and placed them in front of the officer in plantain leaves instead of money. Nangeli died shortly after, and her husband jumped into her funeral pyre, giving up his own life. It is said that after her death, breast tax system was annulled in Travancore, and the place where she lived came to be known as Mulachi Parambu, land of the breasted women. Interestingly, this well-known story finds no mention in any history books, and many explanations or theories are going around. Now, one of the inconsistencies with the story is that people in Kerala in the 17th and 18th centuries didn't wear upper garments. Yes, you heard it right. Initially, people across gender in Kerala didn't wear upper garments, whether it was a king and queen or a lower caste person. Later on, by the 19th century, 1800s, with colonization, clothes become a power statement, a tool to demarcate caste hierarchy. How? A person was to remove their upper garment in front of people of higher caste. This means a lower caste person like Ejhava or Nadar was supposed to remove it in front of Nair, and Nair had to remove them in front of Brahmin. And Brahmins removed their upper garment only in front of the deity. This violated the dignity of the lower caste women, as unlike the upper caste women, they did manual labor in public settings, on fields, and they had to remove bare their breast in public whenever the landlord came by. This practice often resulted in sexual harassment by the higher caste authorities. It was in the 1810s that Kerala low caste women protested to wear upper garments like upper caste women. This is known as the Chanar Revolt, and it was only in the 1850s that right was given to them. When there was no practice of wearing upper garments in Kerala, at least until the 19th century, how were breasts taxed by the authorities? Many historians believe that mulakaram was not a tax on the attractiveness or size of the breast as its name suggests, nor was it associated with the lack of rights of lower caste women to cover their chests with upper garment. Mulakaram was the counterpart of talakaram, head tax, paid by the men of lower communities. The terms were used to distinguish between male and female payees of a household. This leads us to the probable conclusion. Nangeli didn't challenge the authorities to cover her modesty, as the story has now come to be understood, as Victorian morality, or covering the chest, was not a fashion in Kerala at that time. Nangeli stood against the regressive tax system which pushed the marginalized community to extreme poverty. It was a statement against the injustice of the social order. As the historian Manu S. Pillai said, her call was not to celebrate modesty and honor. It was a siren call against caste and the rotting feudalism that victimized those in its underbelly who could not challenge it. Now, we will never know if it was a breast tax or a common head tax paid by all women. We don't know if the society ashamed of what happened to Nangeli erased everything about the regressive practice in which they took part. But one thing is sure: when many stood watching, Nangeli stood up against the atrocities she had to face. We will never know if Nangeli was a mere urban legend to inspire people or a real person erased from history. But let's celebrate her courage, for Nangeli was the hero to all who were poor and weak.
If you found this video both informative and captivating, please support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing to our channel.